Hello, my name is Cody Casterline, and I am the author of a new distributed blogging / social network system that I'd like to give a demo of. If you want to read the full features, take a look at the GitHub repository, infinite loop / FeoBlog, and there's a full write-up there, but I'm just going to dive into the features directly to show you the parts that I think are interesting. So it's very easy to run a local server. I'm just going to go into this demo directory, make a new directory, and start a new server. Now, there's not much to see by default because we haven't posted anything to our server. So to do that, there's a bundled client that can run in your browser, but you can write your own client if you want. So if you want to write one for iOS or Android or the command line, that's fully possible. This is just the sort of proof of concept thing you get out of the box. So anything inside of this /client URL is inside of the client. And here we can log in. But first, to log in, we'll need to create a user ID. And there's a handy button here. This will generate a new user ID and password for you. These are cryptographic public-private keys. And this will be your unique identity within the sort of distributed system. You want to save this password in a secure location like a password manager. The server never needs your password. Only clients that are going to be writing new posts and things on your behalf will need the password. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to do the wrong thing and just put it into a text editor. And this user interface is designed with the idea of saving multiple identities for you. So say you run a tech blog, but then you run a cooking blog as well. You might want to have people able to follow each of those individually, so you're going to post to them separately. So let's generate another ID. And we can clear that password. So now we can log in as our identities. Note, we're only logging in with the public identity. We don't need the password at this point. The client tried to see if that user existed on the server. It couldn't find one, so it's going to warn us in case we actually meant some other user. But that is who we mean. And because we're managing multiple identities, I'm going to name this one after myself. And you can color code it to help remember which identity you're currently logged in as. And again, the server has no idea that you're logged in here. I'm using air quotes that you can't see. This is just a way to manage identities in the client. So I'm going to also log in as this user. I'll call that my Esperanto blog. So that one is going to be green. And I can easily switch between these two. Again, the server has no idea about these identities yet. So if I try to go and write a post, I can send it to the server. This is the first time where we need our password, also known as the private key. Before we can send a thing to the server, we need to sign it. So we paste in our password, we sign this data we're about to send, and then we submit. But The server has told us where our permission is forbidden because the server doesn't know about this ID. So let's return to the server here and going to add this identity. Because this is my main profile, I want it to show up on the home page of my server, so I'll tell it on home page. And it's hard to track these IDs by themselves, so I'm just going to give myself a private comment that this is my identity. And this comment is not visible to anyone but server admins who run this command. This lists all of the users that are explicitly granted access to this server. So this means they're on the home page, the ID, and the comment. So let's restart that server. Page is already open, don't need to open it again. And if we try to submit this again, that works. So now we can see our post in our own feed and on the home page. Note that here we're still in the client. We can see that by the URL here, and because we've got this nice custom color that we've set for our background. But our content is also displayed in plain HTML on the home page. Users can click to view the individual post here. But you may have noticed we have this sort of ugly user ID. We might want to go by something a little more human readable than that. So we'll return to the client and we will go to edit our own profile. Again, the server is warning us that it couldn't find a profile. Not surprising, we haven't written one. So we'll create one, and I want to be known as Cody. Double check that that link works. Okay, that's the right link. And I will, again, sign this thing that I'm about to post. When I clicked that sign button, it immediately deleted that password because we don't need it anymore. We don't want to hold on to it in memory as any longer than necessary. And this signature and my user ID are all that's needed to post this to the server. So we'll submit that. That worked. And now, when I go to my feed, there's a bug. This is version 0.1.0. If I go to my feed and refresh my browser, it will show that my preferred name is Cody here. These are not globally unique. So if there's another Cody in the world, they can create their own blog and be called Cody. You can always click into the user ID, view their profile, and see their unique user ID, or grab it out of the URL up here. So that's the basics of blogging in the system, but it's also a bit of a social network. I want to be able to follow my friends. So let's have post some content as another user ID. We'll change user over to this Esperanto blog. And now when I go to write a post, and if I try to use the wrong private key, it will tell me, nope, that's not the right one for this user. We need to use the one for this user ID. and my cat would really like to join this demo. But we cannot post to the server yet because the server doesn't know about this ID. Now, you probably don't want to have to add every single user to the server. So thankfully, if you follow someone, they are automatically allowed to post to the server because you want the server to be able to cache all of their posts so that when you go and view your feed, their posts are available for you. So to do that, we will change back to my main profile, Cody. I'll go and edit my profile and say that I follow that user. I'll add their user ID, and I'm going to call that and we will sign to let the server know this is me. Now my profile is updated. So I can change back to this ID, write my post again, sign and submit. While I'm not explicitly listed as a user on the server knows that it should collect my posts on behalf of the Cody identity. So if I look at my feed as this user, I only see my own. And if I change to this identity, I see both its posts and the posts of people it follows. You may have noticed that in this view, this post has a username Cody in Esperanto because that is what I have nicknamed it here. So if you know someone via a particular name, you can use that so that your feed is comfortable for you. But other users will see other names for that. And they will default to whatever that user has defined for themselves. But the Esperanto ID has not yet created a profile for itself. Let's go ahead and make one. Just going to leave it blank. Now it knows that its preferred name is Esperanto, but still changing to this one, we use my nickname for that account, Cody in Esperanto. So that's the social networking aspect. Currently only posts are supported, but coming soon I'm going to implement comments and reply posts and things like that. But now let's take a look at the distributed part. The distributed part of the system comes into play in this sync tab. So let's say you've been posting on one server and for some reason you want to move your content over to another server. Maybe you're just standing up a new server and doing a migration. This can act as a migration tool for your content. So to do that, I'll make a new tab down here. Were we running in server 1? Okay, good. So I'll make we'll run a new server. It needs to be on a different port. I'll use 8088.42. That sounds good. And to keep things separate, I'm going to drag this over here to the right side of the screen and log in on the client. Again, I'll log in as this identity. Now this server does not yet have any posts. There's nothing to see here. There's nothing on the home page. Just a little filler here to let you know what you need to do. I'm going to call this Cody2. It's actually the exact same ID, just sort of showing that this is different. I'll use a, let's see, lighter color yellow to show that this is on a different server. So to get my content over there, if I were to try to write a profile, it's going to remind me I couldn't find one, but I know, no, wait, this ID exists somewhere else. I want to sync it from that server. And to do that, I just need to give it the URL of this server here. Whoops, it needs to know that it's on HTTP. And it also needs to know that it's on port 8080. But by default, it will use my current ID and try to sync that to the local server. Again, since the local server is completely disconnected from the other one, I need to let it know that I'm allowed to post to that server. So let's do that. Then I'll say comment. I'll restart the server. Try that sync again. And there we go. It's found my profile, and it's also found that that profile follows someone called Cody in Esperanto, and it copies those down. And that's because each profile has a list of servers that list where the content for this profile is known to be found. We've left it blank so far. We'll see why that becomes a problem. So down here, we can ask to sync down copies of my feed, but we don't yet know where to sync that from because my profile didn't list anything. So let's fix that. I'll edit my profile and I'll add a known server here. Generally, you won't want to list servers that are on private IP addresses like this. This is not reachable on the internet, so it would cause problems for other users. But for this demo, we'll do that. I need to sign and submit. So now it can return to sync, and it knows where it can find content for my profile. So I run a sync, and here it's found that server. It's asked that server for a list of content by my user ID, and it's found, I think, my first profile there and my first post there. It's copied them to the local server. It's also gone ahead and looked at the people that I'm following and grabbed any content for them, which was the post by the Esperanto user. So now that they're here, I can see those on this server just like on the other server. And to sync the other way, let's write some content that exists only on this right-hand server. I'll write a new post. So now we can see this post only exists here. This is great because you can be offline, run a local version of your server, write several posts on different blogs, and then you can just come to the sync button once you're back online and sync. What's happened here is we have found in our local profile that one of the servers known for our profile is this port 8080. We went and asked that server for what items it knows about. We found out that it didn't know about these two items, which this right-hand server knows about. And so we copied them over to this server. So if we refresh, now I can see it's the same on both sides. I think that's it for the demo at this point. I would love for other folks to stand up their own server. Again, the source code is available here on GitHub. Alternatively, you could write your own client to a server. The documentation for that you'll need is here in the README. So there's a list of the URLs and what data they provide. And then there's also a list of the data format, which is mostly documented in this protocol buffers definition file here. And there's a bit of writing on the cryptography required to know and post. I'd love any feedback. Thanks very much.